It's on the fiddle faddle. Okay, I'm going to close that then. Oh, come on. Dang nabbit.
I guess I'm gonna be this dashing gentleman.
What is that?
What? Coin of many faces.
He's so handsome. Look at him.
He looks weird.
Okay.
Shut up, you look weird.
We are live.
Hey ho, folks!
Layla, why are you that?
I'm a man.
I want you to be a man. That's weird.
I don't want it to be a man. Wow.
Oh, man.
Dre's already here. Hey, Dre.
Oh, hello, coin of many faces, he says.
I remember back when I first got that in Warlords, I did a tweet every day with the coin of many faces, and I forget how many days I had set to do it. But it ended up being, it was like 60 days. Every single day I would do a coin of many faces and do that.
Is there that many? Does it change every time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that in that span, however long it was that I did it, I think I only ended up with maybe like 1 or 2 repeats. Yeah, it's a pretty significant number. All right, John, I'll put up the tweeters.
Tweeters, okay. Dre likes to utilize that for his Mirage spell for his improv.
Oh, I guess he's an improv RPer, or maybe he just does that on the side or whatever.
I guess maybe for his show.
I was going to say, it's his show he does in Stormlight.
Oh. That's right, he has a show.
That's right, every Saturday night behind the cathedral in Stormwind. I think that you scared that fox, Layla.
No, it's pretty scary. Oh, God.
What is...
I just entered into a pet battle. That was, I did not want to do that.
I saw an eyeball, Layla. It's looking at you.
Excuse me.
Apparently Dre shows at an SI7 now.
Oh. Ooh, looks so mad.
Huh?
Be mad with me, Vlad.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Do you have to target something to be mad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you targeting?
John, do like a slash cower.
Oh. Ah. So I gotta... so I don't have my... Here, let me... Okay. There we go. Turn this way. Close all that stuff. Alright, I'm going to grab some cafe. I'll be right back.
Alright. We'll entertain the masses.
There we go. We'll defend John. What's gotten John so afraid? Tune in to find out why. And then you like just pan over. It's just nothing.
It's a...
Click here
it's
to
a rabbit.
find out more. Oh,
Ooh.
I don't think I can do anything without having a target. Except dropping my plague crap everywhere.
You're not drinking the copyrighted food, are you? Because that's not for you. Oh, it's for
Yeah,
me.
that's not for you, John. You heard her.
Oh.
Yeah, Lenny's coming.
What?
You heard.
Lenny's coming to pick you up? Where do you think you're going?
I don't know wherever Lenny takes me.
It's a giant made of fenberry bushes.
Your
think so.
opinion doesn't count.
Yeah.
The
I think,
Fenberry bog
I'll have to
giant.
talk with Lenny first, see if I approve of where you're going.
I don't really care if you do.
Well, you'll care.
No, I don't care at all.
Oh, you will.
Not even a little.
He'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, I'll give you something to cry about, hon.
He says under his breath as she's leaving. Oh.
Okay. Did you put the tweet up later?
I did. I said I did.
Oh,
I said I took care of the
Oh.
tweeters. Oops.
Something died.
Or it just got too far away.
I don't see it.
Dang it. Sencha!
Layla, Layla.
Sencha. That was like the old Sega. Remember? I don't know. You're probably not old enough. Sega. Remember that?
Yeah.
When you would turn the systems on?
I never owned one, but my friend did.
That was my very first game system, was a Sega. Not the Genesis. The Sega before the Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first game system.
Mine was Super Nintendo.
Yeah. I got into a Super Nintendo after that. But the Sega, whatever, I don't even know if it was called anything other than the Sega. I don't know, but
Such as with Nintendo with the Duck Hunter game.
Sencha, did you sit there with the gun pressed against the television screen like we all did? I bet you did.
I wasn't that smart.
I was cheating, Layla.
Everybody did it. And we all tried to shoot that dog, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
She says yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little disappointed there.
We all did it, John. You're just in denial.
That dog was a jackass, okay?
I ended up getting a Nintendo, but it was actually after I had gotten the Super Nintendo, so.
You did the
What's
what?
wrong?
I did the wrong thing.
Oh, God, John.
Talk shows, not. Though, I mean, we are in World of Warcraft. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
I like how it didn't change, even though I changed it. Changed it, Layla, and it didn't change. Talk shows. Boop.
Your mic's a little low, John. Sencha wants to let you know.
Still didn't change, Layla. Okay, well, it is what it is. It's gonna. I mean, World of Warcraft.
It's
is
fine.
I
Either
suppose.
way, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, my mic is low, so
It's because he's a gnome and he can't reach it.
that's right. It's way up there. So we'll turn it up a little
Stand on your
bit.
tippy toes.
How about now? That should be better. I think anyway. I'll just put it up with you guys. There we go. Well, that's because I'm off the screen. I'm in and out of the. Okay, great. I'm over on the other screen, moving stuff around. So yeah, the music will cut out. That's better, Layla. Look, everyone's favorite Sarani from the Goober Squad.
Even though now she's a Death Knight.
Dead Ronnie.
Dead Ronnie.
Dead Ronnie. Because
I don't know why, but I thought of the song "I'd Like to Eat Randy."
Brotherly Randy.
I'd rather, yeah, that's it.
well, it's because you retconned Zorani's original story. Is that correct?
I retconned her what?
Original story.
No, she was just a paladin. She died. Now she's a Death Knight.
Because
I think he was trying to do a lead-in to
Yeah.
our show.
Well, no, because that's
Wow.
not what happened.
Wow. So
Listen, John, I'm not going to lie
was
to
a good
the people just so
segue,
you can have
Layla.
your show.
that was a
I'm
good
not going to lie to the
segue.
people so you can have your show, John. I am not your monkey.
And we do have 3 letters today, Layla. From
Oh, we have letters.
oh yeah. So we'll be asking
Wonderful.
those questions. From
Wonderful. I'm ready, John. Let's get started.
Ferdinand Gonzalez.
Like John Cena in that movie
Yeah, yeah.
with the bull. I'm so disappointed that really like has nothing to do with like the legit Ferdinand story. Like I'm so like, I mean it's similar, but that's not the story.
Oh, it's not. I thought that's what they.
Well, no, it's not about the bull that's sitting in the meadow sniffing the flower. What am I doing with my life right now?
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are asking you that, Layla. You're standing
know.
here with a gnome and
Oh, I know.
a human in the field in Red Ridge.
I have a Keldalar though. Fancy. Whoa. Whoa.
With the fox. Foxy Mama.
What does the fox say?
Oh, look, she just sat right next to you.
No.
Just like the. Just like that cat that was following you around last night, Layla.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Echo. Is that his name, Echo?
Oh.
I don't think he didn't have a name. He was just some cat that was following me around.
Cato.
Cato.
Cato. Lacko Cato.
Right. Okay.
All right. Think we're about ready.
Dre says it's
Folks ready?
It's fantastic, Mr. Fox.
Why's it gotta be a mister?
Oh God.
Well, I don't. We could look at its anatomy. Here, let me see him.
Yeah, but I bet you're not gonna find nothing on it, John. Therefore, not a dude fox.
Wow, just a second.
Yep.
Eh.
Now just letting the streamers know what fox butt looks like.
We are role playing how to properly sex an NPC fox.
Well, not. I don't think sexing them is the proper. Determining the
Yes,
sex.
gender identifying them.
Yeah, but not sexing them.
Yeah, that's what they call it, sexing them, John.
that's a part
Find
of
out the sex.
I'm not sexing the fox here.
I am not a sir. I self-identify as a vacuum. Thank you.
Tack helicopter. Okay. Caca. That's right off the bat. Okay.
Caw.
Things haven't started and they're already going downhill.
Right off the bat. Okay. So tonight on For the Roleplay, we are talking about retcon or not to retcon. So first,
That is the question.
that's right. First and foremost, Vlad, what does the word retcon mean?
It generally means to redo or kind of like rip out or cut out a certain part of a story that you've done and kind of throw it in the trash and redo it. That's essentially what I've come to understand retconning. I don't have an actual definition for it.
Well, I don't know
unfortunately.
why not.
Because I'm unprofessional.
It's the. Well, is retcon
What?
short for a word?
I have no clue.
All
What is it short for, John?
We are so
Yeah,
prepared
the-
for this discussion.
I just know what about it. Like I don't know what the dynamics of that word is. I just know what it means.
I'm going to Google it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was already on that, John.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Layla.
Oh, it is an actual definition in the dictionary. Retcon, a subsequent revision of an established story in film, TV, video games, or comics.
Ha!
So it is a legit dictionary word.
Yeah, retcon. Verb, past tense.
Also used as
retconned.
a verb. Retconned, retconning, to later revise an established element of a fictional story.
Yeah.
The origin of retcon appeared in somewhere between 1980 and 1985. The first recorded use of the word, a shortening of retroactive continuity.
Oh, there
you go.
There we go.
That's what it stands for. Retroactive continuity.
There you go.
On it. Well, I've done my part for the show.
Yeah, Layla's done.
Sit back and
thank you,
just-
Layla. I appreciate that. Yeah, typically by introducing a new piece of information that imposes a different interpretation on a previously described events. So that's what retconning is.
For those who didn't know, and a lot of role players, retcon all the time. If something doesn't go their way in a certain role play, they'll retcon it, or they'll take things that, and it's basically, if it's a particular situation, that they don't like, they're just gonna take it out, which is not something you should always do. You definitely can abuse this tool. It is that's essentially my piece on that.
That's right. You can become a tool if you do it too much.
Yes, very much so.
People will call you a tool.
Yeah, I mean, and it has its uses, but it's generally looked down upon if you use it for a frivolous reason too. Like, again, it could also be like an OOC reason, like you break up with your boyfriend and you retcon your character's relationship. That's happens, but it damages the integrity of the character in itself, I think. So you really shouldn't take retconning lightly, and there's kind of a life lesson to it that applies here. It's basically, if you're overly emotional or horny, don't make a decision. And I notice a lot of decisions to retcon a story or a role play was based on whether the person was overly emotional or they wanted to get some.
Wow. Get some soda like
I like the drop in the voice there. Get some.
So
I'm having a Crazy Blades flashback. Sorry.
Oh, here we go. We're just going to ask you: have you had any characters that you've retconned things with?
Of course, I've done it many times. It's like I said, it's
was
a tool.
Was it because you were trying to get some?
Well, you are married now.
I'll say
it worked.
We didn't retcon any of that.
Oh, okay.
The times I retconned, I have two examples that I can use. One's for World of Warcraft, one's outside of World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, that was when I was developing as a role player, and I realized I was a half-demon vampire, or my character was a half-demon vampire, and that needed to not happen. Or at least I was more comfortable with role-playing within the lore, and I didn't want to be treated like,
a scrub.
So I retconned my character. I basically stripped the entire character clean and
Not like
made a
that,
new
though,
one.
John.
Not like that, though.
Oh.
And outside of World of Warcraft, though, it was on Guild Wars 2.
John.
What are you doing, John? Hashtag get some. Get some toilet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh God.
No,
okay, we're going to a dark place.
Caca. Caca.
The other retcon I did was in Guild Wars 2 when I was actually in a relationship with somebody, and they and we kind of broke it off, and our characters had about a year's worth of story involved with one another. So what we did was we essentially, I suppose I made up, because I basically said, okay, I know we're not going to want to like talk to each other or try to, I'm not, make no illusions, we're not going to be friends after this. So yeah, no, I was really mean. But I basically I basically said, all right, I want you just come up with
tells me that
how
all the
my
time.
character dies on your end.
When our marriage is over, we're not being friends.
Yeah, that's how it generally works. Yeah.
Yep. But basically, I said, okay, so make it. You can do whatever you want with your character story, but my character dies in your story, and I'm going to do the same for yours. And I was foolish in the sense that I did not understand the ramifications for that for my character, because my character became severely depressed after that, and he's actually affected by it to this day. In Guild Wars 2, it was yeah, he's still pretty messed up about it. So that's one thing to take back or take from it, is you don't retcon lightly. You want to ask yourself certain questions, like it's best to examine the period of time in which you wish to retcon, and you ask yourself, did the experience dynamically change their outlook? Will I be happy with my character if they revert back to the habits that they had before the retcon? Ask yourself questions surrounding the character's development related to the retcon. And answering these questions will help you understand the full weight of your decision. So yeah, that is the best advice I could give. Before you make a retcon, you got to ask yourself those kind of certain questions about your character.
Right. What about you, Layla?
Unfortunately, yes, because, and I would say the majority of the times that I have had to do so has been at the fault of OOC, either OOC drama within guilds, or due to other individuals that, you know, either they lose interest in the character that they're playing and so they stop role-playing that character, or, you know, they just decide that they're not interested in playing Warcraft altogether anymore, so they just quit playing, or they, you know, don't show up and things like that. So I think that a lot of the retcons that I've had to experience were due to the relationship of my character and other characters, not like necessarily a romantic relationship, but even within, you know, the context of a guild, or, you know, a family oriented relationship, things like that. Either way, I needed, you know, their character was a significant part in some respect to the life of a character that I had. And when an individual decides that they, you know, want to stop playing the game, they don't want to role play that character anymore, they're interested in another character, or whatever, you know, what have you. And unfortunately, when you're the one that's left standing there going, okay, so what am I supposed to do with my character now that this giant chunk of, you know, not necessarily who they are, but, you know, the things that are going on around them, something that they care about is now just gone. How do you handle that? You know, like Vlad was saying, there are options other than retconning, but you have to really consider what that's going to do to your role play, what that's going to do to your character. And sometimes the easiest way to go about it, such as if your character was in a relationship and that other, you know, player decided they're not playing that tune anymore, what have you, that, you know, for the sake of your characters, in some cases, it may be easier to just simply, okay, we're just going to kind of chunk out this much of the RP and we're just going to just remove it completely. It didn't happen because I would say the majority of the time, role players don't want to role play the depressed, heartbroken, lonely character. Like, that's not fun. If you're doing it for a reason and you're doing it, you know, within a story arc and you're going somewhere with it and everything, like, that's great. Certainly you need to have diversity in, you know, the feelings and, you know, experiences and such of your character, because that's, you know, true to real life.
That gives depth to your character. Sorry to interrupt, but that's very true. You need to have ups and downs in your character. You might not like experiencing that, but I think that if you want a dynamic character, you need to experience those ups and downs with them.
But unfortunately, I think that in some cases, and I see it more in probably in relationship or family esque relationships for RP characters, that you build this story, you know, over the course of weeks, months, years even, and you can't just chunk that out, or you wouldn't have anything left. You know, you to just want to remove that area out of your character and just say, like, you know, oh, like, you know, their significant other died, or, you know, what have you. Like, that has devastating effects on your character. And, you know, sometimes the most kind thing that you can do for your character is to just go in there, snip out all of this, you know, now OOC drama ridden elements of the character, and just kindly remove them.
Well, I think one of the things you need to consider as well, and I like everything that Vlad and you had here, but retconning a lot of the time doesn't just affect your character. It affects the other people that were in that storyline as well. And so you have to consider their quote-unquote intellectual property as well when you're going about the retconning. Now, if it's something where you're trying to get out of a bad RP situation that you don't want to be involved in, of course you have every right to do so. But if it's just because you don't like where the story's going, remember, you got to take all these other people's work that they've put into it into consideration as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Too many people, I think, that when they retcon, they'll kill their characters, which I think is no. I think that's really, really one of the worst decisions you can make, is killing your character off in a storyline. Obviously, there are some circumstances where that's fitting, or that's like, you know, they're in a blood in, blood out kind of gang. Like, you know, then yeah, they're gonna die if you don't want to participate in that kind of criminal element. Well, I'm just saying.
Do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, do it for the right reasons. Don't kill off your character, because that will, like, that will affect other role players. Like, I remember I was in this, I don't know if people remember the Darkshire Coalition or whatever. I think it was called the Darkshire Coalition or something like that. There was this character, his name was Jackson. And
Action Jackson?
Jackson was like one of my favorite, like, he was Vlad's like best friend.
Hashtag get some.
Borderland, that's it, Borderland Coalition. That's right, Sencha. That is it. I was in that guild. That's actually where Vlad actually began. They were a good guild. They kind of teetered off, but they were great back in their prime. Anyways, Jackson was one of the members, and Jackson had a wife who was another member of the guild, and I think she stopped playing WoW, or something happened, so she killed off her character. And Jackson, like, was, oh my god, like, he was devastated. The character, the role player just did a really good job. She was a little upset about it, but, you know, it was just sad.
Yeah,
he was like, because she not only that, her character was pregnant with his child.
Well, here's the thing, though. And these are all things that have to be taken in consideration. And the biggest thing about retconning is that there are so many different scenarios and different reasons to, and different, you know, you can't just lump it all in together. But in that case there, now, was that something to where I understand what you're saying, but were you privy to any information that this was something that these two of the players had discussed, that this was something that they wanted to do?
No, actually I haven't. If that's what they wanted to do, then hey,
right.
I have no
right.
I have no problems with it.
It's certainly, I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of it's probably might not be something you want to spring on somebody.
Right.
But again, that goes back to, you know, especially if you're in a, you know, a long-term RP, you know, friendship, even just, as talking about the players in an OC fashion, that you would want to have that respect for one another, and that's important, that open communication and respect, and making certain that you're both interested in what's going on, and making sure that you're, expecting, wanting the best for each. But at the same time, I think that, I don't know, like, I understand what you're saying is, like, it's probably not best that you kill off your character, but I don't know
sometimes
if that's
ripping that Band-Aid off is...
Well, I don't know if that's better
rip it
or
off.
worse
Just rip it off.
Just that person just disappears.
Grand Nagus says retconning always has a bad taste, in my opinion. I think that if you RP, you are living the character, and in real life you can't just retcon something just cause issues. So in my opinion, again, you shouldn't do it. You could use, sure, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
You're right. I think that outlook is good to have, although there are circumstances in which you're going to need to. Like Layla said, that, the person you roleplay with, they quit WoW or they're done with it. I mean, yeah, you're right, Grand Nagus. Like, that's a good way to look at it, because, the more of those experiences that you take and that you let happen to your character, the better. And there are also some experiences that you're gonna retcon anyway, because you have to deal with a god modder or something like that. Like, they're like, your character's dead because I'm the best. And, like, you're like, well, no, like, that didn't happen. Or if you're just being a good sport to sate them, and you say, "Oh, you killed me! I'm slain!" Oh, and then they go away, and you're like, "I'm totally not slain." Like,
well, but at the same time, I think that, like we were saying before, I'm not against the fact that you would want your character to experience things just as almost randomly as you could in a real life situation. But at the same time, I think that there are individuals that can employ retcon in a proper fashion that actually allows them to continue playing their character in a situation where if they did not employ the retcon, they would be unable to continue that character. There are situations where there are things that happen or things that people just throw out there at your character that could potentially be so completely devastating that your character could not overcome. And yes, if you want to play that out and you want to be that emotionally devastated, depressed character till your end of days, by all means, go ahead. Yep. But there are role players that are not interested in that. And when they are thrown a curveball by somebody from an OOC place, they throw a curveball with their character that devastates another character. I think that it's more than fair for that person to employ a retcon to allow them to continue playing their character the way that they want to play it, rather than being forced to endure a character that is just completely devastated by circumstances in which the player, OOC-ly, had no control over.
Well, for my example, I had Galahad with Lady Cadence for years and years and years, and because they were moving in real life and she was going to college and all this other things, she was no longer going to do WoW. And so because Galahad's storyline was so intertwined with that character, we both decided on how to end the RP. She died in Northrend, and but I could no longer really play him at that point, because it was so intertwined with who Galahad was and his storyline that he just kind of faded off, and I just started a new role play with Tannenus. So because I couldn't just retcon her out of his story, because their story was their story, and that was who they who he was, basically. And so I just had to start fresh with an entirely different character. So I think that was
quick question. You really liked Galahad, right, as a character?
Yeah, probably my favorite.
Did it cross your mind, because you just said you made a completely different character, but did it ever cross your mind to actually make Galahad again, but it has a different
Reboot
a different
character.
name. Yeah, reboot and a different skin or maybe a different
Right.
race.
Tanninus had a lot of the same qualities, though a completely different backstory and a different character
Upbringing and all
altogether.
that.
Right. But he's still a lot. He was a warrior, but a lot of people thought that he was a paladin just by looking at him. And watching him in the way that he talked and acted, and a lot of times I had people
do right.
Yeah, I had a lot of people ask him, "Well, aren't you a paladin?" I was like, "No, he's just he's a warrior."
I'm not that good.
Yeah. So, but he still incorporated some of Galahad's stuff, but I really felt Galahad on his own was just once he was done. I wasn't gonna make Galahad 2.0 because I just cherished that storyline so much that I kind of wanted to keep that as something that I could hold on to and look back on fondly with instead of trying to continue that story. Yeah, he's popped up every now and again, but I just couldn't do anything with him just because it just wasn't Galahad without the rest of the folks that he used to hang with. So.
Hey, that's fair. That's actually really cool. I can't say I've actually had that kind of experience like that before. Well, no, I have, but that's really neat because it's actually the opposite of what I was gonna say. Like, because if that does happen, where your character is like devastated to that point, and you can't continue, you can just analyze your character in the sense of what are the big points in this character that makes him this character or him or her this character, and I can recreate them but a little differently. I think that's a good exercise for creating something new with a little bit of old, something you're comfortable with but still pushing the boundaries in somewhere else, and you'll be surprised by doing that your character will grow in a completely different direction than your last character by just changing a few elements, such as he can even be the same race, but changing like his job or his what he does for a living, which is the same thing, or it's as simple as that, or even just as a minute detail as like if he uses a melee weapon or a ranged weapon, because that. If you imagine that, you're probably going to have a lot of more traumatic scarring or whatever. That's really finesse detail or minute details, but you'll be surprised in where it leads you and how others perceive your character by changing those few things, but generally having the same construct that you had before.
Yeah.
So if that does happen to you, where you cannot continue a character, there are those options.
I think that's one of the things with retconning, that it's obviously much easier to do the less time that you've actually spent in the situation in which you need to retcon. The further you get into it, or the further you are involved with another character, again, whether it's relationship, whether it's a family situation, like those sorts of things, the more ingrained that other characters are with your character, the harder it's going to be to just simply remove those elements. And then it becomes a little bit more of, you need to take a step back and really assess what you want to do. And in some cases, it's an unfortunate, like Vlad was saying, it's an unfortunate case that you do sometimes hit these situations where you can't do anything. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that you just kind of have to let it drop and either try and reboot with a similar plan, or just move on to something else, because there are things that you just can't chunk out of your character and I think that in that respect, I think that it's very difficult to retcon when you have a character that is very involved with other characters. Say you are a guild master or an officer in your guild, or you have a high rank within the RP of your guild, to where you are influencing many other characters, or you're just somebody that, even as a guild leader or an officer or even just a guild member, but you really participate in a lot of RP, different, interact with different guilds, interact in different stories. You're very involved in the community. And in those cases, again, it's going to be very difficult. The more complex the situation is, it's going to be more difficult to just simply remove that, rather than, I just met so-and-so last night. That turned out to be a really bad RP. Let's pretend that never happened, because that went somewhere south, and we're not going to talk about that. But, when you're somebody that, a big chunk of who your character is, and you suddenly want to try and ignore it, where you've got, a dozen other people or a dozen other characters that have to acknowledge that element of you, that starts to really complicate things, because they may not be willing to do that. They may not be willing to have their character just simply forget that your character was married, or forget that your character had a child, or, things like that. When you start to involve other people, it definitely becomes...
It's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Now, Grand Naga says everything has consequences in life, and retcon is for what Arthas did to Meriden in the Cave of Frostmourne, in a way, at least for the time until we as heroes came along and restored his memory, like we always screw up stuff. Yeah, so, and I threw up the video for Three Doors Down, Here Without You. That WoW video.
I don't
Here Without You by Three Doors Down. Oh, it's a great video. You have to check it out.
I'll probably check it out after this.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's the only WoW video that made Cincha cry. So.
Oh wow. Wow.
So retconning, it again not only affects you, but I think it affects certainly folks around you, especially like Layla said, if you're tied into a lot of role play, you're a central character. I've seen retcon done well. I've seen it done poorly. So I guess that goes into guild disbanded. Should I retcon, Vlad?
You don't have to. It depends on how, like, even if your character was like immensely invested in your guild, like you made the character because of the guild. For one, I think you should analyze. You probably should want. It's an opportunity to create depth for that character. Like your guild just suddenly disbands. The nice thing about that is you can also. The nice thing about that is you can kind of take your own creative license at that point. You can decide what happens to that guild, unless of course you want to or maybe you can contact some friends in that guild and kind of be like, hey, I have an idea because I don't want to destroy my character, and I think we should be like the remnants of this guild kind of thing, and we should just keep in touch or something like that. Normally that doesn't happen, but that's a good idea to step forward with. If you have invested a lot into a character, I think in a guild, and after it disbands or something like that, it's a good idea to just kind of try to roll with the punches. Obviously, there are, like we said before, there are circumstances in which you can't do that, but do your best to just kind of analyze your character, see what you can do with what you can salvage out of that kind of that breakage and immersion, or that that RP that a lot of people were invested in, and now it's gone because whatever. A lot of guilds will generally, to avoid this, they'll appoint a new leader, or they'll try to go on a different route or whatever. And I've noticed a lot of guilds, a lot of great RP guilds that do change leadership. I don't see very many that get better. I don't know why. It's just, at least that's what from other members have told me. It was better when so-and-so was in lead or whatever. But maybe that's just because they're cynical and whatnot.
Well, yeah, or they could have really been good friends with that other person. Or... but Layla, what have you seen as far as guilds disintegrating because of retcon?
Normally, I would say I see guilds, or I see characters struggling to maintain themselves due to OOC things happening.
Oh.
I've seen what Vlad was saying in terms of, you know, if you have Guild A, whose guild master just suddenly disappears, doesn't log in, nobody knows what happened to that individual, they either don't play WoW anymore, you know, maybe something happened in real life and they're just, you know, can't get on the computer, whatever. They're given, and of course this is a little bit back, you know, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, before we had all these fancy BattleNet things and everything. So if somebody wanted to just disappear, you weren't going to see them online. And so if you're talking back in that context where, you know, you had Guild A, suddenly their guild master disappears, they haven't logged on for forever. Like Vlad said, you can, as the remaining members, can attempt to take control of the guild and move it forward. However, I've seen at least moderate success with individuals breaking away from that dying guild and together forming their own guild of something similar. Because again, they're similarly minded players and they're interested in a certain theme, be it, you know, military or tribal or whatnot. And so they decide to break away and move forward on their own. I see that generally being moderately more successful than attempting to salvage a dying guild, either due to the guild leader disappearing or due to the leadership in the guild, be it officers or guild leader or whatever, just not functioning properly any longer. But at the same time, I've also seen that cause a lot of problems when people make OOC decisions but haven't planned for what's supposed to happen in character-wise. A while back, I had a guild master that decided to leave. And as the officers of the guild, we attempted to do our best to try and keep the guild alive. With this sudden departure of the guild master, because, you know, okay, how do you deal with that? We did the best we could until we showed up to a server event at one point at which the guild master, our former guild master, was there. Then our characters are kind of all left going, wait, what? Why are you, what in the world happened? Why did you just leave us? And in characterly, it didn't seem as though this guildmaster the former guildmaster had really planned for us to do that. I don't know if that guildmaster had decided that he was just going to eliminate all of that from his character, that his character had his reasons and he just didn't bother to share them with us. I don't know what the idea was, but our character
got hit in the head, had amnesia, Layla.
Oh, God. That's one hell of a wet noodle.
But either way, he had to deal then with us in characterly sticking with the fact that he just simply abandoned us and ran off elsewhere. And that was an interesting RP because I don't think that he was quite prepared for that.
Okay, what was his name, Layla? We'll put him down as a person that you roleplay with.
No, we're not.
Call him out, Layla. Come on.
Try not to.
Shame
Only good vibes in here, John.
Shame and blame, Layla. Okay.
Oh, dang it! I forgot what I was gonna say.
Caca.
Okay.
But at least, per that story, that was a situation where we didn't retcon what happened. We played it, and it actually turned out to be it turned out to be positive for us, at least in the perspective of, for him to have shown up at that server event and everything, that it made it all the more interesting for our characters. Our characters went from being upset and not knowing about what happened to suddenly being very angry about what happened. Yeah. And that provided a whole different dynamic to the whole situation that actually, looking back on it, was probably a thoroughly enjoyable RP situation despite the context of what happened. However,
what you should have done was stripped him naked and made him walk to Uther's grave.
Drawn in horror.
Yeah, and just said shame the entire time he's walking. Shame. Shame. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, again, that was one of those things where any of that sort of thing that I have seen happen, especially in involving guilds, has been because of OOC factors that are not being dealt with appropriately. And because they're not being dealt with appropriately, they are affecting in-character situations that shouldn't have otherwise happened. I've seen a change in guild leadership that happened strictly for OOC reasons that did not make sense in character-wise, and it ended up completely falling apart as a result. It did not work because it was forced due to an OOC change, and in-characterly was never properly explained or reasoned. And in those cases, those types, it's kind of like the House of Cards. It just ends up full collapsing on itself.
Well, Vlad, what are some of the good reasons then to retcon? What's some good ways to retcon to avoid these kind of bad situations?
The good reasons? Well, the obvious is, if it's like an abusive kind of role play or something like really obnoxious, or, your guild leader's a metagamer or whatever, or not really as an example. What she did was, what her guild did was pretty awesome. And I also wanted to note right there, that's why it's really important to, if you're going to retcon, communicate. Like, that is the biggest thing. And I think that's it's another mark of kind of like what a good role player will do, is that they realize that they'll care about the integrity of not only their own character, but another person's character. But on the good reasons to retcon thing, if you're new to roleplay, I think that is I think you're allowed to retcon a little bit more often than most roleplay. If you're new, you're gonna make some things that you're not gonna like. You're gonna discover some themes that you don't like, or that you do and don't like. So it's okay to retcon a little bit more often if you're new to roleplay. When you find yourself in a roleplay that you thoroughly enjoy, though, or, you've been doing it for a while and you kind of got a groove going, you might want to back off on the retconning a little bit. But those are really the only couple reasons I can think of, or if it's really severely bad, or, you're new.
Well, I kind of can build off that, or you're new bit there, because I think that as a more experienced role player, I don't necessarily think that it's wrong if you are engaged with somebody that you know is a beginner role player, and they do something, they make a mistake that you really kindly, as the experienced role player, should point out. You are probably going to want to take that back. You really don't want to do that. And I'll give you an example of this. So this is a great story. This is the bulk of this story.
Tuck in, guys.
What?
Tuck in.
Get tucked in, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But here, the bad part of this is the bulk of this story really needs to be saved for when we venture into relationship RP and have that whole discussion.
Oh,
but
God.
There is a chunk of that I can pull in and talk about as far as this retcon is concerned. So, picture, if you will, tribal RP. If you'd like to picture like a troll situation. We'll go with like a very a jungle troll, very primal.
We're gonna want names, Layla.
Primal, aggressive type of atmosphere and role play, and that's the whole bit there. Okay, so this newcomer to the guild, which I am an officer of, my character is the wife of the guild master, who is a very primal, aggressive, nasty character. Don't want to mess with him. So this newcomer comes into the guild, and he's doing everything. I mean, this guy is genuinely putting forth a wonderful effort as a new role player to get involved with the guild, get involved in the role play that's going on. He really wants his character to really partake in everything that we have to offer as far as, events and, learning about role play and becoming better, and really a top-notch, what you'd really want from a beginner role player.
Primo role player.
Primo beginner role player.
But he wanted to get some.
But, yes. And after one of our
guild... His name was Crazy Blades.
After one of our guild events, he was walking along with my character, and they were talking about what had... And honest to this day, I don't even remember what the event was about. because that wasn't the point of the story. But we're walking along and the characters are talking about what had happened and all of this sort of thing. And all of a sudden he decides that he is going to have his character force himself upon my character.
Ah.
Now, first off, this is not cool in any context, in terms of if this is not something that you have previously in an OOC fashion discussed with another role player, that this is not okay. I don't care. It's not. Yeah. If you are not in a position where you know the other individual is accepting of this type of role play, is interested in this type of role play, what have you, if you've not OOC had that discussion, you do not do things like this. But I didn't, you know, I wasn't so much freaked out by that because, again, a beginner role player, I was trying to keep that in mind. He had done nothing up to that point that, you know, I really had to jump down this guy's throat about. But the thing is he did not take into consideration what that truly meant for his character in terms of in-character actions mean in-character consequences. Mm-hmm. Basically, what would have happened is that the guild master would have killed his character, period. That's just what would have happened. And it wasn't something that was going to be okay in character wise. It was definitely not going to be okay. And it was something that I had to stop immediately in OOC conversation, go, look, you need to take, you know, we're going to ignore that this just happened because I don't want to see you get kicked out of the guild for this. Yeah. Because that's
who
what
raised
would
you that
happen.
way.
Yeah, you're rude. Who raised you? I mean, we did have that conversation that's not, you know, you don't do that. That's not okay. Again, like I just said, if you've not had that conversation with someone in an OOC fashion and all that, blah, blah, blah. But I really had to help him understand that this was going to lead to very, very serious consequences for his character, and was ultimately either he was going to, I mean, I really hate to use it, but in the context of what the guild's theme was, he was essentially going to have to allow his character to be killed, or he was going to be removed from the guild and his character within our group would have been killed. It was just an unfortunate circumstance within the boundaries of the RP and the theme that we were involved in, which was made known up front to everyone. It was not like you're buying into this heavy tribal primal theme and not aware of any of this up front. But that was a situation where the retcon really, and it was just one, you know, just one paragraph emote that he needed to retcon. It wasn't something like, you know, oftentimes you talk about retcon and you're thinking a big story or a big, you know, all of this, blah, blah, blah. No. Sometimes it can just simply be an emote. Like, man, okay, that you really didn't need to emote that. You really didn't need to take the RP there. That made, like, I think Vlad had alluded to before, that if it's made somebody uncomfortable, like those sorts of things. Like a retcon can just simply be a paragraph of your RP that has been removed and kind of smoothed over the situation. And that's really what happened here, because again, I didn't want to see this individual really take a fall for what he felt his character, I mean, I didn't want to take away from the fact that his character was doing what his character felt inclined to do. That was not my problem with it, but rather my problem was that he had not assessed what the consequences, OOC Lee had not assessed what the consequences for his character would have been, and he probably would have been removed from the guild as a result. So in those certain circumstances, again, sometimes it's worth having that OOC conversation with someone to say, look, this what you've just emoted at me is not going to lead to anywhere good. If that's really what you want, that's fine. But if you want to take a second to really think about what road we're headed down here, you probably should reconsider what you're doing.
Well, first of all, he would have been a eunuch by the time he got back to the camp, and
yeah,
then he would have been killed. So
yeah. Basically, yeah.
That was a good way. That's a good way to handle that kind of situation like that.
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm not advocating for surprise rape, but that is that's something that's
just kind of as a cliffhanger for the future episode where we decide to tackle the topic of relationship roleplay. That individual proceeded to cause some very, very dramatic problems for the guild down the road. That probably should have been a good indicator.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe.
But at the time, and the future drama did not involve me directly, but as an officer of the guild, it was something that I had to deal with, and it was not fun. But yes, that's going to be the cliffhanger for when we talk about relationship drama.
Wonderful.
I can't wait.
Yeah, that is a good way of dealing with them. Like, look, this is going to happen if you go down this course. This will, A, B, C, and D will happen, and it's not going to be good for you. Or you open discussion to the other role player about how dire the consequences were. And now, again, I'm not advocating this whole rape RP thing, but like, let's say he made another decision that was like disrespectful to the tribe's totem, but he didn't know about that. You might tell him, hey, out of character, like you really don't want to do that because of this. It's okay if they make a mistake, but like.
But here's the thing: I'm not advocating that.
Let John talk.
Go ahead, John.
So I think what you're saying there is it's something their character would have known, but because they're new, they didn't know it, that their character knew it. So their character, as either a troll or someone that worshipped that totem all their lives growing up, and then they do something that the whole tribe's going to go, what the heck?
Yeah.
Cluing them in that, hey, your character wouldn't have actually done that because that would have been a grave, because they didn't know it as a player.
Right, so you could kind of avoid retcon in that manner because you can, again, open communication out of character. That's very important. Yeah. You can avoid situations where you'll need to retcon. So I guess that's a good sign of a role player is that you will explain to somebody out of character before an action pursues or before an event pursues, this is going to happen, or these are going to be the consequences.
Well, and I think that as a footnote to that, I want to say that I do not advocate that every little bit of your RP needs to be thought about and explained and discussed in an OOC fashion. I am fully all for in-character actions equal in-character consequences, and you are not always going to be privy to this information, nor do I think that you should be. However, there are situations, like in the context of my story there, where the situation was going to be very extreme for this individual. And in that context, they probably needed to be aware of what was going to happen, even if it was simply a situation where that was something, if it had proceeded, that would have been an even larger chunk to retcon if it had been later decided that this is not a road we want to go down. So it's better to just end it right there and just be like, look, this is not, we're not going this way. But again, I'm not advocating, hello phone, not advocating for that you need to be aware of consequences all the time before your character gets, mixed up in something. That's not what I'm trying to say. I don't think that's what Vlad's trying to say. Yeah. But when it's a situation where it's going to be really detrimental to the character or to the player or what have you, that open communication is definitely important to avoid getting into situations where retcon is going to be the best solution.
So again, and I think Grand Nagus, he says, beware of the beginnings. It starts small and he needed to be told that he's never to do that again, as much as the same in real life, not to get political, but yes, and in-game RP reflects in real life in some way. So again, not right. And I get, we're not saying that type of role play is ever okay, but so that's not, I don't think that example is, we're saying
we just wanted to get to the point that it's open communication between. That's the point we're pushing here, is that you want open communication between the OOC parties.
Exactly. Communication is key in all aspects of role play. It's probably the most important part of being a good role player is communicating. And I think one of the ways to avoid the bad retconning is to communicate as much as possible. If you know something like, okay, I'm going to be going to college next fall, and so I'm not going to be able to role play anymore with you guys. So we need to come up with a storyline that takes my character out of the storyline so it can continue on without my character, without hurting said storyline. So as much communication as possible will avoid a lot of these bad retcon situations. Because again, it's not just, a lot of times, you're not just role-playing by yourself, you're role-playing with a group, either another person or a group of people. And your storyline has intertwined with everyone else's, and so just tearing that out, a lot of times will kill that storyline. So communicate, I think is the main point through all of roleplay, but especially when it comes to retconning. If you have to retcon because of some outside influence, some OOC reasons, communicate that as quickly as you can to the group. And because again, real life things happen. Sometimes you don't have that opportunity to do so, and so everybody else will have to communicate, okay, so this person can no longer be part of the group. He's the guild leader, or he's a main part, or she's a main part of the storyline. So how do we work around this? What happened to that character that is plausible in the situation we're in? Did they get lost in the jungles in Stranglethorn? So let's start the role play. We're going to go look for that person. Are they lost in that different timeline in WAD? Okay, so how are we going to, so it gives the group as much, give them as much forewarning so they can work out something that'll make that transition as smooth as possible.
All right. Speaking of not smooth transitions, or whatever the hell you just said.
That was not a smooth transition.
Yeah, that's segue.
Yeah, segue.
That segue though.
Yeah. No. But anyway, there are also some bad reasons to retcon. I think there's more bad reasons to retcon than there are good reasons. And again, that's why getting some that would be one of them. I think. Again, like I said, it's a tool that you should use sparingly. But some examples of bad reasons to retcon would be like, I said an embarrassing thing in front of a bunch of people. Like it's, grow a pair. Come on, like so what? You said something stupid. Like your character said something stupid. They're allowed that. They're humanoid.
Well,
they're
if
they're
you're
flawed.
With the friends I have, they'll never let you forget it. So. A little story from,
oh, I thought you were talking about us.
Oh, no. But, and this is a D&D story, but it's role play. And you'll find that those things that you said that are embarrassing, sure, they're embarrassing, but they're stories that people will remember forever. We were captured by these pirates, and we were all tied up, and the captain was walking down the line and saying, start at the first person. He says, okay, either you suck it or you die. And first character said, I die. So the guy chopped his head off. So next person was me, suck it or you die. And I said, death, I choose death. And so he killed me. And then the third person he goes, I suck it. And so for the rest of his life, as far as I know, that story always comes up when we get together. And so it's funny stories like that, that make a role play absolutely hilarious, and things that you can recall. So don't worry about saying something that's going to be embarrassing and try to retcon your way out of it, because a lot of times those are the funny things that people remember.
Yeah.
Years later. I mean, and that happened, good Lord, probably a good 15, 20 years ago. So, and it's still brought up to this day. Suck it or die.
Yeah.
Die, suck it.
There's that reminds me of a character I also made. He kind of became in this tight-knit roleplay. He kind of became the comic relief character. And everyone thought he was really dumb, and like he was just he was thought of like as an idiot. And I kind of role played him like he was a bit Rambunctious and just kind of
Crazy Blades.
His name was no, it wasn't Crazy Blades. And gosh,
I'm telling you, Crazy Blades needs to be a character of either like a comic strip or machinima or something of things to not do as a role player.
Yeah, it's like the Jiminy Cricket show, if you remember that show, guys. There was always the good guy that would do things right, and then there was Crazy Blades over on this side who would do the wrong thing.
See, we need to set this up.
Anyway, so this character kind of became a comic relief character, and I was kind of getting sick of it. I wanted more development for him, and I wanted I wanted him to go a different direction, but I was gonna kind of retcon him, but I decided against it because again, I had to consider maybe that's what the character is. Maybe I can't influence myself into the character that I created because they are who they are. They are an individual, and they had like highs and lows. Again, they were in in-depth individual, except for everyone else treated him like he was comic relief, and that's that would make me rethink it because that was kind of a bad reason to retcon because I didn't like where he was in the role play, and he had his own life. He had his own essence. I didn't want to extinguish that. Do I roleplay him often? No, but I think it's out of respect for the character. So I guess that's one of those gray area retcon. Is it really a good reason? I found it not to be, because again, I think it would do injustice to the character to retcon his character in that fashion.
What's another bad reason, Layla?
Oh, geez. Is this from the you want me
If
to
you
read
want
from
to,
the
yeah,
list,
sure.
John, or
Yeah,
you
go-
want me?
No,
I didn't have one off the top of my head.
Yeah, feel free to take one from the list, or I didn't know if you had one on your own there, Layla.
Well, I think the two of you are probably wanting me to read the one that says I'm going to retcon because my RP partner won't cyber with me.
And I only asked Layla because I thought this would be a good thing for the show, and you said no, but come on.
Yeah. Which I'm sure there are people that will do
I
this.
didn't, guys. That was a joke.
And yeah.
Yeah, because again, and we'll get more into this when we talk about RP relationships, romance or not. Just because someone doesn't want to do the ERP with you, it does not mean all that time you spent buttering them up, taking them to the over here to the awesome
Cashing in the good coins.
Yeah, you're over here taking them to dinner over here at the Lakeshire Inn it's a wonderful seafood restaurant. We can go over there. Let me show you. Let's go over here. I want to show you. This is a great.
Are we running or are we walking?
We can run. You gotta get by belly grub over here.
Oh, John, where'd you go? You like?
Oh wow, John phased out.
Oh, did I phase out?
There.
No.
No, you're kind of choppy. Oh my goodness.
Choppy.
Yeah, on my screen.
I can see you.
I cannot see you.
Because it's just because the brush hides me.
Just gonna check out Lakeshire Inn's delicacy. Oh, we got some RPers, I think. Some RPers.
What?
Doing the
sweet.
RP.
What? Nerds.
Yeah. Well, no, that's cool. I
He's
like.
not gonna ERP with you, man, and you're just gonna have to retcon that later.
Yeah. Yep. Don't try it.
That's
over
not
here,
what
Vlad.
I'm trying.
Up here, Vlad.
Oh, okay. Again, this might be another episode. I think this is a great place, and no one role plays in Lakeshire that often. Like I think it's great that
there's a bunch of people here.
People take their role play outside. Yeah, look at that. Stormwind, 5th Stormwind Infantry. Oh god, a military guild. Oh no. Oh, he's like, what are you doing here, noob?
Yeah.
Halt! Yep. Oh god.
Hey. Take it easy, buddy. I did not knock. I don't have. Does he not know who I am?
Dude, I will drop the plague under your feet. You do not even know right now.
Yeah, does he not even know who I am?
He knows.
I have a reservation.
What is that monk in there? He'll let that in there, but
Yeah,
he's not letting us in there?
Oh, okay.
Lock your
Wow.
door.
Wow. Ah, right this way. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we got a reservation.
All right. Hey.
Yeah, this is a nice restaurant. You can do
Not
some.
letting this monk eat with us. He didn't have no clothes on.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, John, put some clothes on.
I've got. What do you mean? I've got.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my. This is escalating quickly.
Yeah. But anyway, there's a nice little spot here if you want.
Yeah,
you can-
look at this. Yeah.
Really? You can't sit in these chairs?
Oh yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
I can.
I can.
These ones out here at the table, you can't.
We're not.
No,
We're
no.
gonna eat by the fireplace over
There's
here.
Oh, there are
On the
tables
bearskin.
in there?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one
on the
over
bearskin
there.
rug,
Oh,
Layla.
God.
You
Yeah,
know,
he put the.
where we can
This
get
guy.
some.
This
Oh,
is-
that's cool. Look at this. He's got
The keg on
little-
his stump.
Yeah, I like that. Where do you get that? Where do you get that,
I
Layla?
think you get that. Yeah, Layla.
The mystery cake?
I think it's from. Maybe is that the Brewfest?
Maybe.
But anyway, this is a nice place in here to
Yeah.
Yeah,
have a
as
nice
long as
dinner.
you're not getting
be
the
a monk here. This guy.
naked monk and everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who is this? This is Servized. Yeah. But yeah, the 5th Stormwind Infantry. They
Ah,
look like a good guild. Good guild.
grilled. But anyways, what we were saying? We were saying something about bad RP or bad retcon.
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Because
ERP and
yeah, just because you take them to a nice seafood dinner here and whatnot. And,
get the bass. It's delicious.
You know, you do all the stuff to lead up to that big moment, and your RP partner's like, yeah, I don't ERP. Not time to say, okay, done, I'm out.
Yeah, and then they'll just completely cut off like talking to this person.
Can I go out on a limb and just say that I would put a high percentage ratio on, if that's what they're interested in and the individual they're role playing with is not, they're probably going to cut out on that.
Yeah.
While we can sit here till we're blue in the face and say that's not cool, don't do that, that's disrespectful and everything, I would put a high percentage of individuals that they are going to cut out. But again, I mean, that comes down to, and again, it doesn't always have anything to do with ERP or relationship roleplay. It could be the military roleplay, whatever. But, you know, way back, one of our first conversations is about finding individuals that are similar in style and interest to what you're interested in roleplaying. What you're interested in, what your style is. If you're somebody that's clashing in those manners in any way, you're going to have a difficult time role-playing with them.
And again, it goes back to, you know, communicating your, you know, what your
intentions.
Yeah, your intentions are. And yeah, essentially, this is a kind of a seafood restaurant. The reason why I call it so, because, you know, a lot of people, there's a big fishing
There's a lake
community
there.
down there. Yeah, big fishing community down there. So I always assume that this is kind of they do a seafood fair. That's kind of my RP here that I've utilized in the past. It's a good place to have guild meetings,
Fish fries,
parties, that sort of thing, and you know, a nice little dinner around the the fireplace with that special someone. If you're doing an RP relationship with someone, but yeah. So, just
Sir,
because,
do you understand that I am undead?
Oh God!
Doesn't mean you can't taste stuff, Layla.
No.
Oh.
No, he's talking about interest on the bearskin rug. Like,
Still doesn't mean
them
you don't have
parts and feelings
Layla.
don't work anymore.
What do you mean? You could have feelings.
No.
Oh, we'll learn more about that when we talk about the Forsaken and the Death Knights.
I'm not Forsaken. I'm just a Death Knight. So,
One step away, Layla.
basically.
Tomato. So, I mean, that's a whole other show, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do
it's a whole other
Forsaken
can of worms.
Can Forsaken
No pun
have
intended.
Forsaken babies? Okay.
Gross. Another bad reason to retcon.
Yes.
Caca. is I'm not the center of the attention in my RP guild, and so I'm gonna leave, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna deal with this.
Well, thank God there's the door, sir. That's actually a bad reason for you to retcon, but a good reason for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Don't let the door hit you in the butt.
There are plenty of people that will join a role-playing guild, and they, that you think that they're gonna be great because they're really, they talk to everybody in the guild, and they're really they like to talk to people. But then you shortly realize that their character needs to be the center of attention of every single event, of every single roleplay, of every single second of every single minute of every single life. Blah 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 blah. But it's rather obnoxious, but it's not a good reason to retcon your whole story if you feel like you need to be the center of attention.
Or you didn't get the starring role in the upcoming storyline.
There's another guild that I was in. There was a character that he needed to be the hero, like he had to be the one that saves everyone, the kind of thing. Like he needed to be the badass, and and it was something that I did not like because I didn't like that the guildmaster allowed that, gave him that role. I honestly don't think it's fair because there's other people that want to be the hero. They want the limelight, not the limelight, but you know what I mean. They want their time to shine, and I suppose we can talk more about that when we talk about guild RP in general. But there will be some times where they don't get their way, and so they'll leave, and they'll change the way that their character interacted in that event, and they'll kind of try to stranglehold on, or they'll try to force your character to acknowledge that when that's just not right.
Yeah. So, boy, retconning. Ultimately, it can be a tool that you can utilize if something has changed, either in the storyline or in real life that you have to make those changes. And so it can be used for good if it's done properly to help ease your character out of a storyline or whatnot. But it can also be something that can really make for a bad situation, not only for you, but for your friends and family as well. So, retconning, use it sparingly if you have to at all.
Yep.
Layla?
That's...
Yeah.
Any last thoughts on retconning? Get good.
Get good.
Get good.
Get good. Yeah, I mean,
Don't make fun.
If there's
toilet.
If there's a way that you can roleplay your way out of a situation, try that first. But certainly,
it should be honestly a last resort.
Yeah.
That's the best way to look at a retcon. Is it is the oh shit button kind of thing. You do want to push off from doing it as much as you can when you can't justify rolling with the role play.
Oh my god!
What?
Wow,
this guy just logged in on my face!
Wow. Hey.
I'm gonna retcon that.
Yeah, retcon that, Layla.
Yep, there you go. Retcon
wow,
that.
Excuse me, sir.
Good use of retcon. I approve.
Wait, what?
Dre says caw.
Yeah. Caw.
Excuse me, sir. Who raised you that way?
All right. I believe that's about it. That's all we got to say on
retcon.
Retcon. Yeah.
To retcon or not to
Any
retcon?
questions from the audience? If you guys want some questions answered, we're happy to help.
Well, these guys have done a great job here tonight.
Yeah.
All right,
really
guys. Yeah.
Really enjoy the interaction with our audience and stuff. It's really good. No, I don't mean that in a shitty way, but no, honestly, it's great that you guys are involved, and we are. Favorite seafood? Okay, such as said favorite seafood. I typically like catfish, fried catfish. I guess it's not necessarily seafood; it's more lake food. But
halibut for me, sir. Halibut. Good halibut. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh no, sea bass. I'm sorry, not catfish. Sea bass. That is the best that I've had. I've fished up sea bass off the coast of Mexico.
That always makes me think of Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, Seabass says he's got this. Because that guy at the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Go to your happy place. But yeah, oh, buttered shrimp. Dre says buttered shrimp. What about you, Layla?
She's busy talking to this.
I'm RPing this dude in my face. Oh, here he goes.
Yeah. Aha, tuna. Tuna.
Ahi tuna.
Ahi?
Ahi tuna.
Ahi tuna. It's for Sencha. Do you like seafood, Layla?
It's okay.
Calamari.
It's not my favorite. Yeah, calamari, scallops, shrimp, things like
God,
that.
He's back.
Sushi. Sushi's really good.
Is that
yeah.
seafood, technically? I mean, it's got fish in it.
Raw fish.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us as usual. We really appreciate you guys coming in.
I thought you had questions,
support.
John. Were you lying to me?
Yeah, you had stuff in your...
I was lying.
Oh,
yeah.
I was all excited too. John, you're a jerk. I'm not coming back.
That's
you didn't have letters?
No. I could make some up. Yes,
no. I hate you.
Well, they put this cake
close the show already.
Okay.
Wow, I'm so upset now.
What jerk, Winkle? Someone says. Wow.
Exactly.
Layla, where can folks find us?
If you're not watching us here on Twitch TV, twitch.tv/fortheroleplay, you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/fortheroleplay, or you can email us at ftrpcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on YouTube, but I am not going to try and give you that link because YouTube can't make it easy for us.
Just for the roleplay, right?
Yeah, just search For the Roleplay on YouTube. It should bring us up. Let me see. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, Vlad's looking.
No, it doesn't. God, we're not that important.
No, we're not that important on YouTube yet. Help us become that important on YouTube.
Yes.
That's right.
Please.
That's right.
But if you visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fortheroleplay, there are links there that you can get to our YouTube if need be.
All right.
Again, thanks.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining us, folks, tonight. And from Vlad, myself, and Layla, I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next Saturday night.
Keep on roleplaying.
Oh, Dre says, Layla, if you are DK, are you considered undead?
Yes.
Yes. You are living in undeath.
But she doesn't smell. So, there's that.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Sorry, but she probably does.
Nuh-uh. She smells like roses.
Well, thank you, John.
So anyways, thanks guys for tuning in.
You bet. So
we hope to see you next week. Do you guys want to maybe put up a vote for what the next topic should be, or do you just want to kind of... What?
I was going to say, if you had things
Warlocks.
that would... Oh my god, you and the
Not
Warlocks, John.
Oh. Not Warlocks? No, okay.
We'll keep an eye on Twitter, and we'll post a couple things you guys can vote on, and maybe
if you include a relationship as one of the topics, people are just going to vote for that one. That's going to be our hot ticket item.
Is that a challenge?
The relationship drama RP show. Yeah, that's what everybody wants to hear about.
Okay, we'll put it up. We'll put it a relationship RP with other stuff like RP hotspots and stuff like that.
And Warlocks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like who's really gonna want? Let's discuss RP hotspots as opposed to let's get the drama stories about people who aren't getting it on.
All right. Well,
Hashtag get some.
Wow.
That's gonna,
oh,
and
that's the
have
name of
to
our
be-
episode.
That'll
Yep.
have to be the name of the episode.
All right,
Hashtag get some.
that'll be it. We'll talk about romance RP next.
No,
That's
I want to put a vote up, and I want you to see how romance RP could destroy any other.
All right, fine. All right, so
I'm gonna put up 3 really bland ones against
no,
it.
I'm gonna be putting in there the what's it called, the topics. So romance RP will be one of them. Anyways, guys,
John's sitting in my lap.
get out of there, John. I will
I'm just getting ready for
destroy
the
you.
next episode. Just getting ready for the next episode.
All right, guys,
I
check out
told you,
Twitter
John,
and
those,
then vote.
those
Chairs.
parts and feelings don't work anymore.
Well, I'm just retconning that whole storyline then.
Yeah,
Never happened.
on you. Into the
All right,
face.
guys, have a have a great night. We'll see you next Saturday night back here on twitch.tv/ for the roleplay at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and more than likely be talking about romance RP, but you never know.
We'll see.
Unless RP Hotspots wins out.
Good. Never know, Layla.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.